Well, hello everybody. This morning we are listening to St. Luke, the 12th chapter, beginning at the 12th verse. Sorry, the 32nd verse, I should say. Have no fear, little flock, for your Father has chosen to give you the kingdom. Sell your possessions and give to charity. Provide for yours purses that do not wear out, and never failing treasure in heaven, where no thief can get near it, no moth destroy it. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. Be ready for action, with your robes hitched up and your lamps alight. You're like people who wait for their master's return from a wedding party, ready to get him in the moment he arrives and knocks. Happy are those servants whom the master finds awake when he comes. Truly I tell you, he will hitch up his robe, seat them at table, and come and wait on them. If it is the middle of the night or before dawn, when he comes and he will still find them awake, then they are happy indeed. Remember, if the householder had known at what time the burglar was coming, he would not have let his house be broken into. So hold yourselves in readiness, because the Son of Man will come at the time you least expect him. Peter said, Lord, do you intend this parable specially for us, or is it for everyone? The Lord said, who is the trusty and sensible man whom his master will appoint as his steward to manage his servants and issue their rations at the proper time? Happy that servant if his master comes home and finds him at work. We have all become familiar with the government's pandemic slogan, be alert, control the virus, save lives. There was an earlier version which began stay at home, and since that change, many people have said, what on earth does it mean to say be alert? Well, if they wanted an answer, they should have turned to the church. For Christians know all about being alert because they are God's people waiting for Jesus' second coming when he will judge all humankind. So they are to be ready, to be alert. In this reading from Luke, paralleled by a similar story in Matthew, Matthew sees it as a call to be ready for that second coming. Luke, on the other hand, is not thinking about Jesus' return and our readiness for that, but he is referring to the immediate future, again with the message, be ready, because as he went on to say, you do not know when the climax of my ministry will be reached. Will I be arrested and condemned to death, and when the Jewish leaders will do their worst? Jesus undoubtedly was expecting these things, but even he did not seem to know precisely when they were going to happen. The disciples, of course, were so sure Jesus was the Messiah that they could not begin to think of him being harmed in any way, and the thought of him dying a criminal's death would have appalled them. They were aware that he said what to them were puzzling things, but they were certain that he was the Messiah and would fulfill the messianic prophecies. Their thoughts were on the crowds, on the people's enthusiasm for Jesus. They thought that Jesus was on the crest of a wave. Of course, Christians today, with hindsight, know that our God has showed the world such love that he has been ready to die, crucified, and he's risen again, so that we can all look forward to a blessed future in his company and in the company of all the faithful. So what about us Christians today? Are we ready? Are we alert? There is, as it were, no second chance, or is there? Protestant Christianity is quite clear that your ultimate destination depends entirely on how you live in this life, whereas Catholic Christianity reminds us that there is a time of waiting after death, what Paul calls being asleep, so that there is every reason to pray for the departed, that they may rest in peace and rise in glory. Both are quite clear that our ultimate destination does not occur immediately after death. It will be decided on the day of judgment, when all will be judged at the same time. I'm not sure, by the way, where that leaves us Anglicans. I suppose with a foot in both camps, as we often find ourselves. So, as we have seen, what Luke is saying doesn't directly apply to Christians today. But like the disciples, we frequently find ourselves needing, as much as they did, to recognize the significance of Jesus' death and resurrection for the people of all centuries. To be faithful always requires of the disciple being alert. So maybe Matthew was on the right track after all. We look forward to Christ's second coming as much as he did. So if Jesus turned up tomorrow on our doorstep, would we be ready to welcome him as our deliverer? Or would we want to skulk away, aware of all our failings, and let us all ready for his coming? So be ready, as the scriptures remind us, for you know not the hour when the Son of Man will come. Do not be like early Christians who put off baptism so that they could time it just before their death and ensure they were in a state of grace with all their sins forgiven. No, that is not the way, for as the scriptures tell us, now is the time, now is the day of salvation. So Jesus says to us, take my words to heart, today and every day, be alert.